Welcome back to the Platinum End Reviews. My name is Weekly Xonin, and boy, have we got an episode review. This is the type of episode I've been waiting for since the beginning of the season. You know, maybe not like, the high IQ plays that I'm used to with Death Note, but like the type of reveals or the type of reveal in general that I just wanted. Like something to completely blow my mind, and we got it this episode with Mr. Yoneda, and I think everyone's reactions to the information that he's giving them here is icing on the cake, I think, because this whole process just kind of got flipped on its own head. I'll get into it right now. Just to recap real quick, episode starts out with each of the candidates dispersing. They each go to their predetermined destinations and give their reasons for wanting to become God, what they would do as God. And as you can see, it pertains to what happens at the very end of the episode. Each candidate gets some type of support. You see a shot of every candidate basically giving their reason, speaking their piece, if you will. And then there's a shot after that, each time, of someone going, I could get behind that. And that goes into play with, what Mirai says at the end of the episode of like, hey, if there's only even 1 million of people out there who need the existence of God, I'll become God for them. And oh my goodness. So from here on, the entire episode takes place right here. And which is cool because of how big the lead up was for Metro Polyman's defeat. The world had to expand over and over and over again just to make matters seem like a little more big. Just to make, like, what's it called? For there to be higher stakes. And that required people to, go to these different regions and just have these big set piece fights. But now the most important part, the most world expanding thing that we get is all condensed in one location, a small location, still a spectacle, right? Because we have, millions of people watching this broadcast here, but it's all this conversation that's happening right here between these 6 people, which is awesome. 6 people and 6 angels, I guess. Gotta count them as well. Midnight gives his own answer of what he would do if he were God, and basically says, I wouldn't do anything. I don't think God should be dictating people's actions. I would just sit back and chill. But, as practical as that doesn't sound, I get it. Like, he didn't want to become God in the first place. Now he does at the end of the episode, for a different reason. But this idea of, he shouldn't be intervening with things is something that kind of, I think, redeems his character. Because a lot of the problems that people have with this show is, Mirai sucks as an MC. He's been one note the entire time. Now he's, like, changed up a bit. But, given context of the previous episodes, this switch up kind of seems valid. It doesn't seem like he's like, rewriting his character or just going back on his own word. It seems like this is a natural progression for his thought process, given, everything that's happened. And Yoneda finds this really interesting. He's like, I like that idea. And, even when Midai decides I'm going to become God now, he's like, oh, you're finally motivated. So kind of makes me think Yoneda was always like, I kind of want this guy to be God as well. We can't do without the existence of a God, and maybe he secretly wants to keep his wings or something. But this, it's so good that Yoneda pops up on the field, mad scientist and all, and he's like not the antagonist that we thought he would have to be, or someone would have to be the antagonist. It actually turns out to be the government because they shoot my boy at the end of the episode here. So I'll take that one win out of the entire season. But yeah, Yoneda pops up and he's like, yo, God don't exist. This whole thing is a charade because God's existence is only there because we made it so. Like, we created God in a way. And now that less people are believing in God, he's, dying, basically. And this whole idea of a selection process was all a sham to, make people believe in him again so that he can become stronger. Which leads me to ask, a question that no one really asked, I believe, but just leads me to ask personally. Doesn't that mean that no one's going to actually be chosen? If people are seeing this broadcast, they see these candidates and they're like, oh, God does exist now, then that strengthens the God up there who was previously dying. and he can just get rid of people. Like, he's God. He can do whatever the fuck he wants, right? So once he has people who believe in him, enough people to believe in him so that he grows stronger again, doesn't he like not need the candidates anymore? Which, you know, I think maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the government is not the final villain. Maybe they actually team up to fight God himself, because given what the explanation was, and I guess Mooney's confirmation or lack of confirmation, it seems like their next goal should be to destroy heaven, or destroy this idea of what heaven is right now. It shouldn't be resolved by Mid-Eye just going, I'm going to become God, because God still does exist, and God is getting stronger by the second that this broadcast goes on. So what do you mean you want to become God? There's no room, there's no space for that. It's not a vacancy anymore, it seems. So it seems like they're actually going to have to fight him, and then, you know, Mid-Eye will become his position, or maybe there's a coexisting type of thing. Either way, man, nuts, absolutely nuts. Yoneda says, like, you know, this energy that we've yet to understand is the reason God exists. And you can see, like, the reactions on certain people. I guess Susumu's just like, okay, that's cool with me. He's, like, nonchalant. My dude Shuji is like, yo, I'm switching sides because I already fuck with them. It's like a little, what's it called? Some incel boy was part of the squad, and Jordan Peterson decided to pop up as the final candidate, and he's just like, oh my god, I've always wanted to meet you. And then he runs up on him, he's like, I'm switching sides, this is my boy right here. But like a little less toxic than that, hopefully. But because Shusui always like was of this kind of mindset of like, well, you know, it's all fucked anyway, I don't believe in any of this stuff anyway, so cool, someone who I already agree with has popped up and has kind of confirmed that idea for me. I'm gonna switch up to them. And dude, oh my goodness, even Saki here is just like kind of accepting of the defeat of like, oh well, I guess this kind of makes sense, but I'm gonna make sense of it my own way. She has a little moment where she mentions Santa Claus, and it's like, yo, kind of just need Santa Claus to exist. Like every reaction here leads perfectly to Mid-Eye's decision at the end. It's so well written, because given that Saki's closest to him, maybe, you know, she would, under the red arrow, still believe what he believes, or, you know, say things that she thinks would be better for him. Like, that's why it's just so good, because whether or not that's her, it just makes so much sense that she speaks, she mentions this idea of like, we still need a god at the end of the day, and then Mid-Eye speaks and he's like, I'll be that god. And it's like, that's his love. So like, if she, like, it's just so well woven together. Let me see. Yeah, fucking CIA, or the Tokyo police force, whatever the hell Tokyo's government, the CCP, no, whatever Tokyo's thing is, decide we need to get rid of these people. Even though they were just talking to Yoneda about, yo, we're actually not trying to kill them, we're just trying to, you know, capture them, because we're trying to use them for weapons of mass destruction or whatever. And, you know, they get away with one kill, which sucks, because Susumu's like so fast, and he's been able to avoid so many things. And the fact that he spotted the snipers and was like, oh look, there's snipers here aiming at us, isn't this cool? You would have thought they're never gonna shoot him. Well, even if they shoot him, they're never gonna catch him, you know? And he gets popped in the fucking chest while looking at them too. Like, it's the dumbest thing in the world. Cause like, he's not redeemed enough for me. Like, I get it, he's like the young innocent kid, but he needs to be protected. But I don't get the feeling of like, I didn't get anything out of that death, or like that shot, because we don't know, maybe he survives at the end of this. Maybe the whole catalyst for this event that turns Mid-Eye into God is like him raging out and going, I'm actually going to use all of these powers to my full, like, I don't know, there could be some weird super power up at the end of this. Or maybe this is all a plan from, you know, the God in place right now, and it's just like, I needed to motivate someone like you, I needed to corrupt you, or some shit like that. Maybe there's more to this death other than, you know, the closing of Susumu's character. But if it is just that, if it's just a death, I didn't feel too much from it, because I'm still kind of annoyed by the kid. Like, I like Shusui a little bit better, even though he's, you know, got his own annoyances. I appreciate him more, because Susumu is just like too happy-go-lucky, but not redeemed enough for me. But yeah, man, this is nuts. This is like, this changes the game for us, because there's no. This whole thing was like a sham. You know, there was no reason for it. I speculated, hey, this is all set up for like some final step that's supposed to be a twist. No, this whole thing didn't matter at all. It was just to spread the word of God via angels, which is like fucking awesome when you think about it that simple. But it's like you thought that this was gonna end with like someone getting a wish or something like that, or someone winning. And it seems like that's not at all what's gonna happen. I wonder what Yoneda is thinking. Like, he's already come to these conclusions, so he's been pondering it. He must have a plan, right? He must have some idea of what to do next. Especially, like, considering that he kind of fucks with Mirai a little bit. Like, he's watching him with interest, right? And the thing that snaps Mirai here is, well, you guys are talking about suicide. Like, Shusui's like, well, suicide, I'd make it like, so that's good. That's a good thing. It's not viewed as a bad thing. In Tokyo, which is... makes most sense for him to think that way and for people to agree with him. But for Mirai to then be like, yo, I don't like that. Like, I'll stop suicide. Basically, it's back to square one for him. Like, he got into this game because he almost killed himself. And now his reason to end the game, or to kind of give himself motivation to win the game, is I want to stop what happened to me from ever happening again. Now, I don't know how he's going to do that, which is why I mentioned earlier it's sort of a contradiction of like, if he doesn't want a god that intervenes, then he has to let suicide happen. So you can't just have people pop up and not be able to commit suicide. You have to do something, right? He has to intervene at some point. Or maybe he's trying to make it into a world that suicide doesn't happen at all. Maybe everyone's happy. That, again, maybe there's a way to like reset shit so that the world is perfect and then everyone's happy forever. Or it requires him to intervene so heavily that he has to be conscious of everyone's decisions and how everyone's decisions affect everyone else, so that no one is ever in a place where they're not happy. Or maybe he has a trigger to intervene, or like have an angel hit him up and be like, yo, this person's feeling down, how do we get them good? But then again, I guess moving at the speed of light, which is what Yoneda kind of talks about when he first pops up, when he's like experimenting, which is cool. Like, I think that was the coolest introduction, where he's just like, yo, have you ever tested out your wings? Like, that's like part of like the setup for him to go in, like, I'm gonna reveal so much shit to you. But like, that's how he introduces himself. But I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, if you are God and you can move at the speed of light, or like you can move so fast that time barely exists, then wouldn't you have enough time in the world to solve everyone's problems? Can you just, you know, fly around endlessly, making sure that everyone is good? Still a lot of work for one god, but I guess when you have a sea of angels, right, then you can be fine. Maybe the solution is to give everyone angel wings. Maybe, I don't know, because Susumu also talks about that and everyone's just like, you're fucking crazy. And with respect, it's pretty wild. Not gonna be the wild west. I'm from New York, where, you know, if you made guns legal out here, fucking half the population would probably be dead within the week. So maybe not the best idea. But I don't know, man. Maybe there's a biblical reference here that I don't know about, like, you know, Susumu representing some type of fallen angel or something like that, and, you know, this being the event in the Bible that turns someone, like, this could be like all a reference to a story. I would have no fucking clue. I'd have to look into it, which, you know, I don't have a Bible on hand, so, and even if I did, that's a lot of reading, so maybe I can use the Googles to figure this out some other day. Either way, dopest. Like hands down, my favorite. Aside from like the laughter that I got from episode 11, or from Hajime's introduction, not the funniest episode. Maybe the most entertaining though. I think this is my favorite, guaranteed. Maybe the most entertaining. It's up in the air on which one was more entertaining: the reveal of this plot twist, or the laughter that I got from, I think, like episode 8 or 9. Maybe even 10. But yeah, man, this changes the game, man. I cannot wait to see where this goes next. I want to know what the decision is. Like, we ended off with Susumu getting shot right after Mirai going, I'm gonna be God, and didn't get anything from Yoneda. Like, he didn't say anything really about like, okay, so here's what we have to do now. Maybe some of this more like origin of heaven shit, or like having to do with Nase. You know, maybe what is required is maybe she's like the perfect example of blind faith. She's the angel of purity. She doesn't really care about anything. She's just like, I'm moving, I'm chilling. Like, doesn't matter. I'll tell it as it is. Let you make your own decisions, but like, let's just keep on going forward. Maybe she was the first angel created. Who knows? Hopefully we get into this like whole angel lore, this like origin of heaven shit, because I'm really interested now into seeing, after, you know, Ogaro's appearance and basically confirming with Mooney, hey, there's a different part to this that we have no idea about. I feel like that means that it has to be acknowledged. There has to be like a talk with God himself at the end of this to be like, dude, what is all of this shit? Explain it to us. You can't just have mad scientist man who pulls in. His like first thing is like, yo, I'm gonna beat y'all with like I'm gonna disprove the existence of God with science. Also, he kind of does exist. So like, what we gonna do about it? Like, you can't just have this happen and then not explain it further. Wild shit, wild times. I'm all for it. I'm very happy that the show is getting this interesting, or it has been this interesting since, you know, Metropoliman's death, because it felt like kind of went stale. Like, all right, cool, big bad villain, not too like disgusting at the end of it, but still not, you know, better than generic, you know. So also glad that Susumu was not the last villain. Like, I wouldn't have been able to drop the show after 15, 16 episodes, but I think I love the direction that this is headed in since Metropoliman's death, because it's like the exact opposite of Death Note, right? Where L died, spoilers, and Nier was like not satisfying to people. It's as if we started with Nier and then got L at the end of it. So I'm with this, totally with this. Can't wait till next week. That's all I got though. So my name is Weekly Shonen, and thank you for watching. Bye.